Welcome to Azure RMS webinar. First of all, I would like to thank you for joining the webinar in the name of the company that I'm working for, NIL. My name is Jan Češčut. I'm a system engineer at NIL. I'm primarily focused on cloud technologies, but in the last few years, my focus is shifting more towards Microsoft Azure Cloud Solutions and Office 365. Okay, today's agenda. First, we will look in some of the more notorious examples of data mishandling and the consequences this had for the business. The rest of the presentation will be dedicated to show you different ways how information leaks can be avoided. And at the end, we will also have a short demo. Okay, the main topic, as already mentioned, is Azure Rights Management Services. To put it simply, this is Microsoft's solution to minimize the likelihood of information leaks. And the companies are trying to implement different procedures to minimize the risk of accidental or maybe deliberate information leakage. But nonetheless, from time to time, information still leak. So definitely a more notorious such accident was during Donald Trump's campaign, when Trump's spokeswoman accidentally sent an internal email about digging up dirt on Hillary Clinton to the wrong person. She sent the email to the journalist Mark Caputo, instead to Michael Caputo, who is Trump's advisor. I would say that staff members of Donald Trump's campaign definitely know how to deal with sensitive information like this, but still such events happen all the time, and we can only speculate if this accident was done on purpose or was really just a mishap. What was the cost of this email? At the beginning, I'm pretty sure that the spokeswoman got fired. If we don't count the costs that such information leakage represents for the Trump's campaign, this was still very costly mishap. So a small typo in recipient address can create quite a havoc, as seen in the next example with Goldman Sachs, when a consultant accidentally sent an email with highly confidential brokerage account information to the wrong address again. Goldman Sachs first tried different ways to contact the recipient of this email, but of course with no success. Then they tried the other way. They sued in court to make Google, because the recipient had a Gmail account, and they tried to make Google delete the email, and to a part they even succeeded. But in reality, as we all know, once the information is out in the wild, it is out, and most of the time there's no return. For Goldman Sachs, looks like this day no one really used the accidentally leaked information. But these two examples shows us that such examples are quite common, and classified information looks like finds its way out. And as they say, but in such examples as this one, in a more perverse sense, information wants to be free. Okay, if we continue with a survey that Kaspersky Lab did a few years ago, they came back with results that put accidental data leaks with 22% to the top internal threat responsible for lost data. A growing number of mobile devices that are used in corporate environments, and also bring your own device paradigm that is getting traction, will definitely in the following years put this number even higher. So the threats that information leaks possess are known and aren't that new anymore. That means there should already be some methods available to minimize the risks. And of course there are, like, let's say, non-disclosure agreements, different company certification, how to deal with the information, like ISO 27001, then different instructions, how to properly handle sensitive information, and so on. But unfortunately, none of these measures help you prevent an accident, and even people who learn and follow the measures and never make a mistake can have an accident. After all, we are all humans. So if we look at some more examples, also some accidents did happen to governments, and one such notorious is the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership Agreement. That was a secret negotiation for a long time, and when the contents of the agreement somehow leaked, no politician could touch it anymore, so the agreement was dead. Something similar happened when an ISIS document leaked 22,000 applicant names, addresses, and their complete recruitment process, leading to arrests all over the world. So also to the most secret organization and to governments, all these measures that we mentioned before, and also best practices that are in use, how to deal with sensitive information, cannot really prevent human accidents. Also, the more people that have access to the information, more likely it is that the information will sooner or later leak. So we could almost say that it is just a question of time when the information will leak. Okay, this is quite a generalization, but the problem is real. What will you do if your information leaks by accident? Do you have a risk strategy already implemented? Are you even able to imagine the costs of such an accident? So from all the notorious examples that we looked at, we can conclude that the measures that can be implemented are not that effective. We need a completely different approach to tackle the problem, one that offloads the measures from the error-prone humans to technology solutions. We need a systematic protection, the one that allows you to encrypt the documents that you are sending. Also, such a solution must allow you to track who has access to the protected document and to revoke access to the document if need arises. We also need a solution that allows you to limit access to the document to individuals or groups. And it would be very nice to have a solution that sets limits on what can be done with the document when it reaches the designated recipient. So all these requirements must be implemented in a seamless and transparent way. So without changes, or at least with minimal changes to the usual or daily end user computer use. And of course, as we are talking about Azure Rights Management, all these requirements can be found in Azure RMS. Okay, now let's first check how Azure RMS works from, let's say, a little more technical point of view, but we are still in a very high-level perspective. On the left, we have an unprotected document with our secret cola formula composed from water, high fructose corn syrup, and of course the element brown number 16, whatever that is. And that document is protected. Such document can be, let's say, a Word document, a PowerPoint, Excel document, or maybe PDF document. And it must be emphasized that the encryption is always done on the client side. What is retrieved from the cloud, from Azure Cloud, are the organization encryption keys and policy settings. The policy is like an envelope that defines who has permission to read the encrypted document, maybe to edit it, if it is allowed to forward the document or to print it. And also this policy or envelope defines some additional attributes for protected document, like the expiration date and if the document can be accessed offline. Then when the client receives the protected document, the application, let's say Outlook application, looks at the policy, at the envelope, and contacts the Azure RMS service if the user has been authenticated and has the access to the document. If everything is fine, the application Outlook will allow the user access to the document, but will enforce restrictions that are in place by the policy or by this envelope. Okay, so if we check some of the backend of the Azure RMS, we have to first mention that RMS isn't that new. In fact, an on-premise version named Active Directory Rights Management System is already available for a long time, but it has some differences compared to Azure RMS system, and one of the major ones is the simplicity in which Azure RMS can be implemented. So Azure RMS as a fundamental building block uses Azure Active Directory, and if you are already using one of the Azure services, let's say Office 365 or maybe Intune, you are already also using Azure Active Directory. So before Azure RMS, you had to manually establish a trust using Active Directory Federation services with the partner organization that you wanted to exchange documents protected by RMS. So this represented some additional work and planning by the part of IT departments from both organizations. But now using Azure RMS, you just have to synchronize your on-prem Active Directory with Azure Active Directory. And it is enough to synchronize just the minimum of 13 attributes of the objects that are copied from on-prem to the cloud. So after the initial synchronization, Azure AD is used as the fabric of trust between partner organizations that want to exchange the protected files. So in our scenario, Contoso and Fabricam will synchronize their Active Directories with Azure AD, and in doing so, they have trusted Azure AD as an authentication source, and they can share documents between each other. And since also they trusted Azure Active Directory, it opens them to a host of other organizations that have also their on-prem Active Directory synced with Azure AD. But it can happen that, let's say, a user from Contoso company sends a document to a user in an organization that doesn't have an account in Azure AD. In such scenario, the recipient can create a free account for Azure RMS, and Microsoft named this Azure RMS for individuals, and by doing so, allows the recipient to authenticate and to access the protected document that you have just sent him. So in the next two slides, we will look at two types of companies. The first one I have named cloud-ready companies that has their on-prem Active Directory synchronized with Azure Active Directory. They are also using Office 365, that is, let's say, Exchange Online or maybe SharePoint Online. And in this kind of scenario, enabling Azure RMS is just a matter of assigning the correct license to the users, configuring RMS templates, and the company is ready to start protecting their documents with RMS. So very clean and simple solution. Then we have, let's name such organizations cloud accepting organizations. This one is a little bit trickier because the organization is having some of the RMS supported services on their on-prem infrastructure. So the first part is identical as in the cloud-ready organization, So their on-prem Active Directory is synced with Azure Active Directory. And just to emphasize once again, for Azure RMS, it's enough to sync just the 13 attributes from your on-prem Active Directory. There's no need to sync, let's say, password hashes or any such information that can be a little trickier. But the second part, related to the services that are in clouds, ready organization already located in the Azure cloud. In cloud accepting organization, we have Exchange, SharePoint, and file server that runs file classification infrastructure in our on-prem data center. So this organization is, let's say, a hybrid organization that has some of the core services still running inside their data center, and some of the other services are already migrated to the cloud. So for Azure RMS to function, we have to install Azure RMS connector server that acts as a proxy between your Exchange server, or maybe SharePoint server or file server, and Azure Rights Management Services in the cloud. End user applications, let's say Word or Outlook or any other, when trying to read the documents that are protected by RMS, get the policy directly from Azure RMS. So actually the Azure RMS connector isn't used by the end user, it is only used by the backend services on premise. So these are Exchange, SharePoint servers, file servers. All this looks pretty fancy stuff, but we must also be aware that end users, to access all this information that are protected by RMS, need some applications, and such application is RMS sharing application that is available from the application store of all the major mobile platforms currently on the market, and of course it is also available for Windows operating system and Apple OS X. The application is fully integrated with Microsoft Office Suite, and it is also available from Windows Explorer as a Windows Shell extension. The sharing app allows you to protect the native files like Word files, Excel, PowerPoint, PDF files. But if you try to protect one of the other file types, let's say maybe you have a music file, an MP3 file, or maybe a video file, or I don't know, Photoshop file, the protection will fall back to the generic protection using a P file, a protected file. So the file that you are trying to protect will get embedded in a P file that has RMS rules implemented. These are the basics of RMS. Now we will have a short demo where we will check how everything looks from administrator perspective and end user perspective. So just a quick overview of the environment. I have 3 virtual machines. The first one is named Lab05-Azure Admin. The second one is Lab05-Demo, and I have also an additional virtual machine that is used only to access some third-party email account that I will show you in the demo. Let's switch to our Office 365 portal. As you can see, I'm logged into the portal with Azure Admin. This is a user that has global administrator permissions. And to activate Azure Rights Management Services, I simply click on Service Settings, and then I go under Rights Management. Here I click Manage, and a new window opens. So to activate Rights Management, all I have to do is click on button Activate, and everything in the background gets configured so that my Azure tenant and Office 365 tenant are ready to encrypt and to protect documents with RMS. So there are some additional, let's say, advanced features that can be configured by your administrators, and I will show you where this can be done. So to do this, you have to log into the old management portal for your Azure subscription, and here under Active Directory you click on Rights Management and choose the correct tenant. So it's this one, Lab 05. I click on it, and here I have a section named Templates. What is a template in Azure RMS world? A template is, let's say, a basic unit that defines what policies, what permissions do the documents that are protected with the template have. So if we look into the template named Marketing Sensitive Information, you will see under the rights section that this template is assigned to a username or to a group. This is a distribution group, marketing department at lab05.rovi.si. So all the users that are member of this distribution group, they will use the settings, the security settings that are defined here in this template marketing. And which permissions or which settings are this, I can show you here. So documents that are protected with this template will be only available for viewing. The users that are members of this distribution group, of marketing distribution group, will be able to view also the assigned rights to them, and they will be able to print such documents. But they won't be able to edit the document, or they won't be able to forward the email, to reply to the email, and also all the other rights that are here defined. Then if we move on to the configure section, you can see that you have a button, Publish and Archive. Each template must first be published before it is visible to the end users inside their application, let's say inside Outlook or maybe Word and so on. It is also possible, if you have any localization of the programs inside your organization, to add some other languages and to give the translated name of this template, so the users will recognize about which template we are talking. And then the more interesting part of the template is the content expiration. As you can see, this template marketing sensitive info has an expiration of 5 days. That means that the content that is protected by this template is available only for 5 days. After that, the protected document will expire and no one will be able to access the content of the document. It is also possible to set offline access. What this means, if you don't have internet connection established when you open the document, and the document has a setting that is accessible only with internet connection, you simply won't be able to view the content. But it is possible also, again, to set the number of days that the document can be accessible without internet connection. Let's say that someone is not possible to use internet for a week. You will set here the, let's say, 7 days that the content is available without internet connection, and after that he must connect to the internet so that RMS can check if he's still allowed to access the document. Okay, these were just some basic settings that are available. Let's go to our demo virtual machine. Here I have mailbox account for Azure admin that is located inside Office 365, and I will create a new email and send the email to another user named Via, and we will protect this attachment with Azure RMS. So we will use a pre-created document, an Excel spreadsheet named project budget. Let's see what's inside. Okay, we have some numbers, some analysis of a project. So looks like this is some confidential stuff. We will add the attachment, enter the user to whom the email will be sent. And here we have one additional icon, Share Protected. If I click on this icon and then choose Share Protected, the sharing app automatically starts. It connects to Azure RMS services in the cloud and pulls all the templates that are available. Of course, we have some global templates, and then in the bottom we have the templates that are defined specifically for our organization. And this time I will protect this document with a template legal department, and I will give here a check box. I will mark this checkbox so that it is possible to instantly revoke, to deny access to this document. I will show you later in the demo how this can be done, but for now let's click Send Now. The document is encrypted on the client side with the organization encryption keys, and it is automatically sent to the recipient. So now let's move to this lab 05-demo virtual machine. Okay, it asks me for the password. I will enter it for this user Via and remember the credentials. Let's wait a little bit. And yeah, as you can see, I've received the email from Azure admin. The content of the email is not encrypted, but the document should be encrypted. Okay, I'm able to preview it, and if I open it directly in the Excel, I can see the name of the template that was used. It's legal department, and I can click on view permissions and see all the permissions that I have on this document. So more or less, I think that I have all the permissions, but let's try to send this document, to forward it to someone that is not inside our organization. Let's see if this person will be able to open it. So I would like to leak some information to a third party, let's say to a journalist, or I don't know, something like that, that we had in the examples in the presentation. And I will enter the email of our test Gmail account. Here I'm logged into the Mandy Mondo's Gmail account, and as you can see, I've also received the forwarded email. The content of the email is accessible. What about the attachment? If I click on the attachment, usually Gmail is able to preview the Excel, the Office documents. This time it wasn't able. Okay, let's download this document to the computer. Let's save it and let's open it, and automatically my Excel will start. And as you can see, I'm not able to access the content because I'm not allowed to. My account is not allowed. I have an option to log in with an Azure account, but since I don't know the username of Via or anyone from the legal department who has access to this document, I'm not able to view the content. So here everything stops, so the document is protected. Now I'm moving back to my first virtual machine where Azure admin has an email account, and this time I will send another email with an attachment, but protected with a different template. Again, I will send it to via user, and again let's protect the attachment. This time we will choose another template, marketing sensitive info template, and I will also mark the checkbox to revoke the access to the documents and also to email me when someone tries to open the document. So let's send now this document. Let's move to via's mailbox. As you can see, I've received the email with the attachment. Also, the content of the email is not encrypted. Let's see what happens if I click on the attachment. As you can see, Outlook says that I don't have permission to open this message. So what can I do? I can switch to another account. Just to clarify it, I will show you who is member of marketing department. So we have here a distribution group named marketing department with this email address. And this group of users have the security permissions from this template assigned to. So let's click on edit members. You will see that we have only 2 members and there is no via member. So I can access the document if I log in with this username. I will do this. So here we are back to Outlook, and I will enter some different user. I will enter tony.hill@lab05.robi.si. This is a member of the marketing department. And now, when I'm authenticated to the RMS service, I'm able to see the permissions, to see the content, of this document. And if I click on view permissions, you can see that I have only the view permission and the print permission. Anything else, it's not possible to be changed on the document, because now if I click on home, you see everything is grayed out. So no permissions to edit the document. Also, here I can see the name of the template that was used and the expiration date. So this document will expire after 5 days. And the last part of the demo, I will also show you now how you can encrypt the content of the email. It's a little bit different process, but not that much. Again, I will send an email to via, and also we will enter here another email address like Mandy Mondo. So maybe I was in a hurry and I entered an email address that shouldn't be there. This time I will encrypt the content of the email. This is done if you click on options, and then you go under permissions, and we will choose, let's say, the marketing sensitive info template. Again, let's click on send. The email will come at the destination. Okay. The message you see is protected, so the Outlook does not automatically preview such type of emails. You have to double click, and then it is able to show you the content. What is shown in the Mandy's Mondo Gmail account that also received this email? Let's go to her Gmail account. So as you can see, she also received this email. Let's click on this. Here you can see the email is protected and nothing is shown. It just directs the user to use Outlook, and maybe then she would be able to access the content, but because she's not a member of the marketing department, she won't see anything, just the encrypted message that cannot be accessed. Okay, so the last part here, you saw that when Tony Hill accessed the shared document, there were some emails automatically created. If I click on this link, click here, I'm taken to Azure RMS portal, and then I have to authenticate with my user and password. Here I can see some information about the protected document. Let's click on views. You can see who viewed the document, the date when it was accessed. Also, Via was denied access to the document because he's not a member of the marketing department. You can see the timeline when the document was accessed. All the accesses happened today. So there are also some other fancy stuff like the map from where the accesses happened. So you can click on this bubble and you get some representation of the location of the accesses. And also, if you go back here on one web page, you see all the documents protected by RMS and shared by Azure admin. So it's also possible to revoke access to the document. So we will revoke the last document that was shared. So it's this one, Azure RMS Demo 03, and I will click Revoke Access, confirm, and now the user won't be able to access the document. So anyone inside marketing department, because the marketing template was used, so anyone from the marketing department won't be able to access this document anymore. Let's see if that is true. I will close Outlook because otherwise it takes some minutes for the revoked permissions to get applied. So this is the protected document. The content is accessible. What about the attachment? Let's open it. As you can see, I'm not able to access the content anymore. It asks me to enter some other username and password, but the document is revoked and no one has access anymore. So that's it. Okay, that was the demo. I hope I showed you how everything looks from the perspective of administrator and from the perspective of user. Okay, one more thing that I remember now, and I forgot to mention, if we go back to templates, here I was talking about, let's say, marketing template and the expiration date. This is a very important part that I forgot to mention. An example, let's say that you have some sensitive information about some budgeting stuff for your company, and you send this information to some members of the board, and you want to make this information available only for a few days. So let's say that you give them 2 days to look into the report, and after that, when the document will expire, they won't be able to access this information. So also, if the document somehow gets outside of your company, after 2 days it will be useless. So this is a very useful property of the documents. Just to mention once again. Okay, more or less this is all from my part for the demo. If you have any questions, or if there are any questions, just give me a moment so that I look inside the chat window. Okay. Okay. We have one question, and it was from Brett. He wrote, you said that with RMS you can set up that documents can be opened only in online mode. Does this mean that when I am, for example, traveling on the airplane and I cannot access the internet, I cannot see the document even if I am authorized and I've opened it before? The offline access, or the checkmark that the document can be accessed only if you have internet connection means that every time you open the document in Word, Excel, or any other application, the application sharing will connect to Azure RMS and check if you have the correct permissions. If you don't have internet connection at that point in time, of course the sharing app won't be able to check, and it won't allow access to the document. So basically, yeah, without internet connection, you are not able to open the document. But if you open it before, when you have connection to the internet, and you put your computer in standby or hibernate, when you will power on the computer, you will still have access to the document. We have one additional question from Igor. What about the recipients that know nothing about Active Directory, Azure, or RMS, that are not federated with Azure in any way? If you send an email or an RMS protected document to a recipient that does not have an Azure Active Directory account, it is possible for the person to create a free account. When this person receives an RMS protected email, there will be a link to instructions how to create a free account. The recipient registers for free account on Microsoft Azure AD page, and then when the account is created, he can authenticate, and again the RMS service knows which user is this and applies the correct permissions for him. So it's also possible for the people that don't have accounts or aren't federated with Azure to access the documents. If there aren't any further questions, I would like just to thank you for attending the webinar.